Right, Bafundi, I'm just doing a quick patch on this client's trousers. You can see what's happening there. Bottom of the trousers, just scraping the ground a little bit. Now, it is scraping the ground, so really what you need to do is shorten it a little bit. But this client will hear none of that, even though it's just 2 mils. Nope. Akafuni. We are going to patch it exactly like that, not shortening it all. And that's just how it goes. So we'll do it for him. First thing, obviously, we unpick the hem a little bit. I'm just taking this piece of, this is probably a polyester and wool mix that I had lying around. I'm just going to base that behind here. It's also the reason why a band on the inside of the hem there is a very good idea, because that will protect the edges of your cuff like this. Because a lot of chaps do like the cuff to be a little bit too long, especially, see, this is quite a broad leg. So if that is then too short, it ends up flapping about in a very unfashionable way. So they want it to sit quite comfortably on the shoe. So that is what we're doing. But yeah, with that, it's better to then have the just that bit of twill tape or something to protect the edge of the fabric of the suit. So now I've got that basted in place. I'm not going to really stress about trimming it down now. Now I'm just going to go with a navy blue thread. Yeah, sure, this is going to be an interesting one. Come in here. So here you can see there's a little bit of damage just over there. So I'm going to kind of start even actually a little bit further up. I can see the damage has already begun. Maybe here already. And I'll just kind of go in between all the threads. In a way, mimicking the weave. Now, fortunately, this is a very simple weave and a solid color. If it's multiple colors, this becomes even more complicated. But at the end of the day, yeah, just trying to mimic the weave and try not to let the thread be too visible on the outside. Rather, just have a pinprick of thread on the outside and a longer one on the inside. This is just strengthening up that little portion where the damage has begun. And just up and down, up and down. That's how it goes. So yeah, this portion, just try not to make my stitches too obvious. When I get to this gaping hole, we have a bit of a different story. So let me just get there quickly. Okay. So here, basically the same story, except that I'm trying to go over the top of these loose threads that are poking out like this. There we go. Getting it all Here we go. So just continuing this up and down situation, but each time when I get to the hole, trying to go in a way over the top of all of this. And yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that until I get all the way to the other side. And then I'll probably go a little bit further, probably to about here, just because of all the damage that's there. I don't want to stop my patch here and then right next door it starts fraying. So yeah, let me finish it up and then we'll try and do it the other way. All right, so you can see there all those vertical threads just covering up that tear. I've gone all the way a little bit to the edge there. Now, theoretically, I should come back completely horizontally, but it's quite a distance, and I'm probably not going to keep it straight. It's going to end up being all wonky. So what I'm going to do from here is actually do it um, diagonally like this. I'll go in, out, trying to keep, if I can, just in the center of the thread, especially here where it's not that damaged. I'm just doing some preventative patching there. To try and keep, if I can, there we go, just in the center of the fabric like that. And I'll then just go again up and down, keeping horizontal. What man, my brain, keeping at a diagonal like this, and trying to keep in the center of the fabric as far as possible. And again, I'm just going to do that the whole way, all the way back to the other side. If I don't get a very annoying knot. What is happening here? There we go. Trying to kind of do a little bit of stretching out like that every now and then. So that does end up shrinking the pants with all of this stitching, putting it all together. So I'm just going to do this small portion out here. Nothing too exciting. Now, I already tried with this client to convince him to shorten it with just a 1/4 centimeter or to create a cuff, which would of course then have hiddenness underneath the cuff, but nope, this is what he wants. So that's what we're going to do. And these, this kind of patch, I don't know if it is possible to charge enough for the drama that this is causing me. And as you can see, it's extremely time consuming. But because it's a patch and quite a small one, you can't charge all that much. But in any event, at the end of the day, we're keeping the suit alive. So that is an important thing. And yeah, it's a small service we can do. Obviously, if we do this well, you'll trust us with more and more complicated things. Yeah, so you see that's just going back and forth in this diagonal manner. See here I'm getting to where there's the actual hole. I'm doing my best to go up and down over and under the threads that are coming vertical like this. I'm trying to weave in and out of those, and at the same time push any fray underneath so that we can in a way lock the fray underneath this new weave that we're doing. Which is not really possible because our weave is obviously extremely open because we're doing it by hand with a needle, not by a machine. So the weave is quite open, so that fray is going to just be able to tease out through the gaps. But anyway, that's what we're trying to do. Create a new weave and push the fray as down underneath as possible. Yeah, so I think I'll do one more for the camera, and then I'll let you have some peace while I continue with the rest of this. So here, staying as in between the fabric, in the middle of the fabric as possible. Got to have a thin needle for this. You cannot use a thick one. Just going over, under. Really, you're just going up and down. You can't really, distinguish the individual threads there in amongst the fray. At the side and just turning around the whole time. Yeah, so I'm just going to keep doing this story. I'm going to get to the other side. We'll chat again. Okay. Catch you on the other side. So here I'm just finishing up the very, very last little pieces of this diagonal situation. Now from here, before I carry on, I'm just going to give it a iron. You see, just the hand stitching has really pulled all of that together. So I'm going to give that a nice flat iron, and then I'm just quickly going to check with the client before I carry on. Are we going to redo the cuff, or the hem like that? Because this is not going to be very visible right down at the bottom. Or is he going to capitulate and just shift that in 1/4? So I just want to double check that with the client, but for now I'm just going to pass back and knot that off. Then give this a really nice iron. Then what I'm going to end up doing, let me just see where I am, okay, is trimming down this extra piece. And then I'll just assess how this patch is looking. Because here and there, I might see a bit of a vertical thread that didn't quite get caught. This is not too bad, but then I'll go just maybe 3 times back and forth like this, just to catch a thread like this that it's not quite so obvious that it was patched like that. So iron, check with the client, and then I'm going to before deciding, if we're going to now fold it on that edge or back like that. All right, so this client is saying no, he really doesn't mind seeing a little bit of the patch right at the bottom of the trouser because it's very invisible. So we'll keep it the exact same length. What I want to do now is just go horizontally around this. And you see here and there, you can just kind of see one thread sticking out just because it didn't get caught nicely with those diagonal threads we were doing. So I'm just going to go around and just try and catch any threads that are looking too, see like that, like just too long. I hope you can see that. But basically just kind of neatening up everything that I'm doing. Also, still going like in, out, under, over, that whole vibe. But specifically looking for threads that are too long and need to be caught. So usually I would actually be doing that with the
diagonal thread. It's just in this case, because the patch was so long, so broad, I suppose, whatever you want to call it, you know, to have done this, catching those edges, it would have really pulled this trouser together, which would not have been fashionable. So rather diagonal stitches there, and then just maybe 4 probably of these horizontal ones to just catch any of the threads that are not looking sufficiently neat. Even maybe 2 will be fine, just there and back. That's going to be a huge stitch. Yeah, that's actually looking fine. Yeah, it's not the best. See, here's still some verticals there. I actually want to just make sure they are behaving. Because of course the vertical thread is going to easily get caught and rip. And then this whole thing will start unraveling. Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, so, after that, I'm just going to finish up the hem. I'm not going to keep you around for that. Just wanted to show you how I would do this patch. There's, that other method where you kind of weave in an original piece. I haven't actually tried that, so I really can't comment on it myself. This, it's not super neat, unfortunately. Like if this was in a more prominent position, you really couldn't have that in a more prominent position. It just wouldn't work. So for the moment, this is what we do if we can handle it. The other method I've tried is to very, very neatly patch a piece on with like basically taking a piece like this and putting it on top and then stitching it super neatly around. Also a bit more visible, unfortunately. That's just life. So yeah, there it is. Where is it? There it is. Just going to give that one last iron. Then I'm going to iron that up and just finish off that hem. But yeah, that's the easiest way to patch, really.